What's up, guys? Welcome to the S1000RR video, 2020 S1000RR Hockenheim Silver. We're going to talk a little bit about this bike while we ride this bike. It's a very hot day. I'm in the mood for ice cream. So let's go get some. So, 2020 S1000RR. If you've made your way to this video, then you know exactly what this bike is. You're just either here to get some more information or just watch someone ride one. Maybe you're thinking about purchasing one. So, let's talk about the bike itself. The 2020 S1000RR is completely redesigned from the previous bike. This is exactly what the engineers told me when I went to the product launch at BMW's Performance Center down south, and I got to ride the M package version with Nate Kern, BMW's factory rider and brand ambassador for the S1000RR. And he said that they put the bike in a room, or rather they put the old bike in a room with the engineers, and they told them don't leave one bolt unturned. This bike literally shares nothing with the previous version. And you can feel that in a lot of different ways. Obviously, the bodywork is all different. The noise is very similar, but it's an inline-4. Inline-4s pretty much sound the same. This one sounds great with the full Akrapovic long can exhaust. But there's plenty of videos out there of these bikes going fast and people tuning them and doing all sorts of crazy things. But kind of what I want to do and talk about with this bike is see how it is to live with day to day. It's a very hot day to day, and we're just gonna see how this bike is as a bike itself. I say in a lot of my videos that I'm a one bike guy. So this bike, if this were my bike, would need to be my one bike. It would need to be able to do whatever I'm looking for. And we're also gonna see if we can justify the money, because this thing comes in at $20,690 in this version, without all the additions like the exhaust and screen that we put on it. But it can only go up from there. You can get a carbon package for $1,900, which will turn these two pieces into carbon fiber. It'll give you a carbon fiber front hugger, or front fender rather, rear hugger, chain guard, sprocket guard. Or you could go M package, which starts at $22,590. So it's a lot of money, you know, for a motorcycle. Although most bikes in this class are kind of up in the high teens anyway. And then if you go with one of the Italian variants, it's way more expensive than that regardless. And you're getting into the 30s and the 40s and whatever else. Is that a Grom? Grom Live? I have a Grom, so that's why I did that. It's just a regular day. I'm not in any particular rush. I don't have anywhere to be, but like I said, it's hot and I'm gonna go get some ice cream, so see how it does doing that. Now to get there, I've decided to employ BMW's Motorrad connected app, which links your helmet communication to the bike and also links your phone to the bike. What we're looking at right now in this screen is actually the navigation that the app will use and project turn-by-turn instructions onto the TFT. And if you had a phone mount, wow, this bike sounds good. And if you had a phone mount, then the bike or the phone would act as a map, and you'd have an active map display of where you are, what you're doing, where you need to go. Now that's pretty cool, to be honest, because I don't know many other bikes that are doing that. And it's just one more way that BMW is keeping you in control of the bike, because now I've got turn-by-turn instructions. I don't need to play with the phone, mess with the phone. I'm in control of the bike right now 24/7. And also another pretty cool thing about this bike, or even that app, is you can not only pick avoid tolls, avoid ferries, fastest route, XYZ, but you can actually pick a winding road option, and I set it to the maximum. I put in my destination, which is somewhere on the other shore, the North Shore. I put in the winding road option. I put in avoid highways. Let's see how we do. Bike is super responsive. I'm riding it in road mode right now. And just to give you a little bit of background, I had an S1000. I had the first gen, the 2014 S1000RR, right before they switched to the second gen in 2015. And that bike was, I loved that bike to death. I did tours on it, I did races on it, I did track days on it, and I commuted on it. So when I look at an S1000RR, I don't really consider it just a weekend machine or something for the really nice days. I want to know how often I can use this bike, because I'm a one bike guy and I spend $20,000 and up on a motorcycle. It's got to be able to do more than just go fast. So like I said, there's lots of videos out there of the bikes going fast. You can watch them race, you can watch them go around tracks, you can watch them be dyno tuned. Let's just see how this bike is to live with day to day. So I'm gonna get a little up further down this road. Once we start hitting some of the curves it's apparently bringing me towards, we'll check back in. Neutral. Somebody's barbecuing. So this nav is pretty good. It helps if you kind of have an idea of where you're going, but if not, I mean, look at it. It's telling you pretty much exactly what you need to be doing. Distance, time to destination, all that good stuff. The audio is working perfectly. You know, I've got my music playing. Music's in my helmet. All the stuff works perfectly. You know, that's what you expect from a premium brand. And that's what you expect from BMW. Now, I'm not going to talk like this bike doesn't have growing pains. I definitely want this to be an honest review. And we all know that a lot of people are saying that the bike has a flat spot. I can't really identify that right now because this bike still has its 8,000 RPM break-in rev limiter, and to me it pulls, you know, to the 8K, but you know, the overwhelming majority say it has a flat spot somewhere in the mid-range, and I'm sure that BMW is working on a fix for that. Also, you know, there's been the concerns with the brakes since moving to the Hayes manufacturer from the Brembo units in the past. The Hayes units haven't been perfect. Many bikes have been affected by a leaking caliper, whether one side or both sides, and not just the S1000RR, but a few bikes in BMW's lineup that has those brakes equipped. So you know, it's a brand new bike, it's a brand new design, and kind of like I said before, what ties into that is when BMW said, when it told the engineers, you know, leave no bolt unturned. Well, that's what you get. You get a first year bike that has a lot of growing pains. It's not going to be perfect, and that's understandable, but you know, obviously that's also a downer when you've spent $20,000 on it. But apart from those things, you know, like I said, I want to give an honest review. So how does the bike feel so far? Well, the power and the noise, intoxicating, you know. Regardless of the flat spot that the bike may or may not have, this thing is a blast to ride. You know, you're definitely on a sport bike. Your knees are so high. The foot position is so high. Like, I haven't ridden a sport bike in a while, And like I said, I used to own one, and of course, you know, I'm when I talk about I haven't ridden one in a while, I'm talking about like riding one, actually spending time on the bike. And this is I don't want to say this is rough, because this is just gonna make me sound old, but your seating position is, you know, very in the bike. The rear sets are very high, so your knees are very high. You know, this is where my right knee is resting on the foot peg. Bar reach isn't bad, but you definitely feel pressure on your wrists. Now, these are all sport bike characteristics. Same way I would never expect anybody to get on a Harley Davidson and say, oh man, this thing is so heavy. This is so heavy. These are things that we know and accept as sport bike traits. So what we're trying to figure out is it livable, and would this be the bike that you're going to spend your money on? I'll tell you one thing, it definitely leans right over. And the quick shifter and auto blipper so far have been flawless. Well, I shouldn't say flawless. There have been one or two false neutrals for me. So, you know, I never really judge a bike too much, especially a sport bike, when it's still breaking in. But yeah, there's been a couple false neutrals. But the quick shifter, other than that, I'm in road mode. Throttle response and power delivery are very nice. The handling of the bike, well, I feel like that's where this thing shines. Let's not get too out of hand, but yeah, let's say that the handling is nice. You know, you've got these forged aluminum wheels, so you've got not a whole lot of centrifugal force compared to other bikes, other standard style wheels. The bike really does lean over. It's very telepathic. You know, you don't have to really ask it or force it to do many things, especially to change direction. You can really just put the bike where you want it. And a lot of people say that, and you'll hear people talk about many bikes in that way. But ride a bike that might be older, ride a bike with improperly set up suspension, and you're really going to start to understand what that means then when you afterwards ride a S1000RR. This thing really does change direction very well. Now, that's going to be complement to a couple different things. This bike has an underslung swing arm, which is completely different and redesigned from the previous generation. This bike also weighs very little. For a motorcycle in general, this thing weighs very little. Right around 450 pounds is what you're looking at. That's not a lot. That is not a lot at all. You're mixing that with the forged aluminum wheels. You're mixing that with BMW's dynamic dampening control, which is the electronically damped suspension, which is measuring how much and how hard the road is making the suspension work thousands of times per millisecond. I don't even know the exact quote for it, but yeah, this suspension is pretty good on this bike, I would say. No, it's not Olin's. It's from a brand or a company called Marzocchi. Do some research, they know what they're doing. Now tie that into BMW's host of electronics. 6-axis IMU in this bike, so it's measuring almost every capable or possible direction that this bike could be going in. It's measuring your rate of acceleration, it's measuring your yaw, it's measuring your lean angle, it's measuring everything that goes into making this bike go in whichever direction you want it to go in. You add dynamic traction control into that, and then ABS and ABS Pro. ABS is pretty much standard, everybody knows what that is, but ABS Pro is lean angle ABS, so that it can tailor how the ABS responds as per the contact patch the bike is measuring that you have. It's all science. Whew. Science, and it's hot. So yes, it's a great bike. BMW makes a great product. Is it as good as the previous generation? I think in a lot of ways it's better. Will it only get better from here? Absolutely. You know, you have to think that BMW, with a bike of this level of sophistication, they're not just gonna put it into the market and hope it does well and throw their hands up if it doesn't. This is definitely going to be a bike that's going to get updates as it ages, and as the years go by, it's probably only going to become more refined and more, or rather better. And like I say this in a lot of my videos and about a lot of bikes, especially to clients, is no one's going to put a bike through its paces more than the consumer. The consumer is going to be using it for what they need it to, and it needs to work for them. So there's going to be a lot of instances that BMW is not going to be able to test for everything, and trust me, they try. This is why sometimes bikes get delayed, and sometimes bikes aren't perfect, but nothing's perfect. So if you can really just picture what this bike is going to, it's already evolved. If we can picture what this bike's going to progress and get better, I think that we're off to a great start. I think that we're absolutely off to a great start. So let's get some of that ice cream. You know, we're also talking about $20,000. You know, I keep saying that, but you know, we're talking about a bike that has navigation built into the bike and through an app. We're talking about a bike that's going to tell you the battery level and the service reception of your phone connected. We're talking about a bike that's going to tell you the speed limit of the current road that you're on. Although on a sport bike, on that S1000RR, I have no idea why it would tell you that. Talking about a bike that has electronic suspension, cruise control. This bike has cruise control. Sport bike, come on. LED headlights, high beams and low beams. Projector headlights. We're talking about a bike that's fly-by-wire, different riding modes, heated grips, adjustable traction control. We're talking about a bike that makes close to 200 horsepower. Brakes work. That was fun. Well, now that we've had our ice cream, let's ride it home, see how the bike is. Not as nice as Bautista's. That tire flat? The off-throttle backfires on this bike are just so nice, and having cruise control is really nice on a bike. I've used it on a bunch, obviously, but remember, what the hell is that? Anyway, remember, we're talking about a sport bike here, you know? So to have stuff like this on a sport bike, to justify the $20,000 and up that this bike costs, you really got to know and really take advantage of all of the features that you're getting with this bike. So like I said, cruise control, quick shifter, auto blipper, different ride modes, heated grips, navigation, music control, telephone control, all of that stuff, ABS traction control, ABS Pro, all while not having to have your hands, although I probably should, on the bike, you know. And so yes, there are some teething pains and growing pains that the S1000RR is going through, with that flat spot that people say it has in the power band, with the leaking front brakes that some of the bikes have been delivered with. There are going to be a couple things that the bike will have to improve on, and BMW is a very good company at taking care of those things. You know, yes, I've heard, oh, it's got this problem, it's got that problem, but I've never heard in any of those conversations, we'll just bump up this cruise control real quick so we're doing the speed limit. I've never heard in any of those conversations with these people, oh, well, why isn't BMW doing anything about it? BMW is a massive company with these motorcycles across the globe. It's not a 1, 2, 3 fix. It's not gonna be, oh yeah, well, you said it, yeah, it's just fixed. That's not how it works. BMW has to do it right. They strive for perfection. So when a bike or when a product, a car, whatever it is, hits the market and it's not perfect, they're not going to put a band-aid on it. They're going to internally go back to the drawing board, figure out whatever it is the issue is, and they're going to fix it. Does that happen overnight? No. Do you know how complicated this bike is? Probably after this video you will. And do you know how many of them are out there? This is why things aren't fixed in the blink of an eye. And people will say, well, I spent this much money on it, it should be fixed. I understand that. But I also tell people in my day-to-day conversations, you know, understand that you're buying a first-year bike. And there's a lot of people who have been in the industry of either fixing cars, fixing bikes, selling cars, selling bikes, that know you're going to be part of the test bed. There aren't going to be a perfect first-year product, whether it's a phone, a computer, a motorcycle, or a car. So with that said, I really think that this bike is doing a great job as the predecessor to the previous generation S1000RR. I mean, just listen to the noise. Oh my god, this thing is fast. So what do we think? Well, it's a sport bike for sure. You can tell within a couple minutes of riding it that it is a sport bike. My butt's numb and my feet kind of hurt. Not for nothing, I think it's a great platform. I'm not going to say it's perfect because it's not. A couple of the things that I mentioned before, you know, bikes having issues with the brakes, bikes having flat spots in the power band. It's not a perfect bike, but it's a good blueprint for what a perfect bike will be. And I know that BMW is going to do everything in their power to make this thing right. But I think that, like I said, it's off to a great start. A couple things I don't like about it. The mirrors are useless. It's a sport bike to begin with, but the mirrors are useless. They buzz a lot, so you can't really see. You also get a lot of buzzing from the handlebars, so that can kind of make your ride less enjoyable. Love the sound, although it's just a, you know, 4-cylinder. Nothing too crazy to, inline 4 I should say, nothing too crazy to comment on with the sound. But I do love the tech, and if you're into tech, then that's a reason to pick up an S1000RR alone. Between the nav, between the Bluetooth communications with your phone, I think it is a winner for that. Or you could just get a big green Camaro. Wow. But as always, honest review. I like it. It's not perfect. Ride one for yourself. Make the decision. Thanks for watching.